We are live.
I get excited. So we are here at the park. As you can see, maybe you can see some of the backgrounds. Maybe there's some birds flying around back there, and I'm trying to be I'm not comfortable because the last time there's birds flying around, I get put on.
This could be an interesting video. Keep an eye out.
So I might be looking around. So we're here to talk about something. I think it's part of Agile, but it's not. It is more of a I would say technical practices.
Yeah, I think it for me
engineering practices.
It's a good engineering practice, a controversial one,
Okay.
but a good one to kind of bat around a little bit.
So when you send me your email and say, hey, this is what we're going to talk about, I probably know the first two accurate. The last one is like, I have no idea what that means, right? So let's talk about it. What's the first one? What's it called?
So the original one, TDD,
Okay, so
or
TDD,
test-driven development.
test-driven development.
And then you've got its derivatives, which is ATDD, which is acceptance test-driven development.
Okay.
And then like the newest one, careful with birds. And then you have the latest one, which is BDD, which you'll hear a lot of.
Okay, so there's this sequence.
Yes.
So you give me a sequence where it's TDD, ATDD, and then BDD.
Yeah, and that's in like the origin of the way that they've shown up on the scene.
Okay. So I'm not aware of that. I'm aware of TDD. So TDD is something that in my mind, I think, is straight out of XP practices.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So TDD. So let's talk about what is TDD.
So TDD, and I went to a workshop many years ago. The definition of it is writing your tests before you even put any code down. You write your test.
So you write your test. So if I need to, I write the test and then write the code to make it pass.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you're like writing an algorithm for checking your password strength, and one of the conditions is it needs to have at least one alphanumeric, or alpha character in it. Okay. You write a test saying search the string, or the test says assert that it does have some sort of character in there. You don't write the code for it, but you write that test, which means that when you run it, it will fail. You want all your tests to fail.
So you fail it and then you slowly pass it along the way.
Yeah.
All right. So that's TDD.
Yes.
Now I mentioned now that's like ATD. So to me it's like, oh, you got TDD and then they put an A in front of it.
So acceptance test driven development is
acceptance test driven.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was like advanced or something.
No. So I'm not that familiar with ATDD. I'm more familiar with the BDD, but the way that I've kind of looked at ATDD and the way it led into BDD is acceptance criteria on a story. So hey, it's got to meet X, Y, Z. Those almost become like your tests. So instead of having to think of the test as you're sitting down to write code, before you even start working on the story, or the work itself, you discuss those initial tests and count them as acceptance criteria, like during refinement.
So you hit the words for me that connect is basically the acceptance criteria.
Yeah.
So this is acceptance test. So you're writing the test to ensure that you pass all the acceptance criteria.
Yeah.
So how is that different than TDD?
I think it's where it's done. So where ATDD started to introduce it at the beginning of the process, as opposed to I'm sitting down and I'm writing code. Okay. Or TDD was used for like, we're looking at a specification, so I've got to build tests for these things.
So can I say TDD is kind of like unit testing?
Yeah, it is. It's unit testing before you put the code. So test before code.
So are there unit testing that we put in place for acceptance criteria?
That's actually a really good question, because unit tests actually are more granular. They're like at the method level, or at the, whereas an acceptance test is got a little bit of behavior in it, right? Which leads into the BDD part. But no, I mean, I don't think it's exclusive. I think you have unit tests which are more granular, but then you may want to write unit tests that cover those.
So is an example that you can give me?
Or automation tests. I could keep going to unit tests, but automation tests too.
So automation test. So okay. So unit test is more towards TDD.
Yeah.
Automation testing is more towards ATDD.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
Because it's covering behaviors, and
Okay,
when you're testing, when you're doing automation, you're testing behaviors or flowing through a particular.
So if I were to say a regular QA person that is doing manual testing today,
Yes.
if they have acceptance criteria, they want to test towards acceptance criteria. So what they're doing is essentially ATDD.
Yeah. They write tests to, if there's a good acceptance criteria, write tests to that. Which is one of the reasons why it's so important to have everybody in on the refinement, because they think of it and they can actually, that's where it's like, ooh, let's add some things to the acceptance criteria, or let's add tests to it.
Good, because that connects the dot for me. That connects to what ATDD is, because I have no idea where ATDD fits, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a leap to BDD, behavior-driven development. What is that?
That goes, take ATDD and you go a little bit deeper. So now you're actually thinking of looking at a story, you're testing a behavior or a full flow. You ask, so some of the techniques that a lot of people who do BDD is you ask the 5 whys to find out, okay, so why do we do this? Why are we doing that? Why do we need to dig into that? It's literally having that same conversation during the refinement or before, but covering more of, hey, I'm not testing the method to pay with a credit card. I'm testing the whole flow of my customer needs to make a payment. How am I going to cover that? What is the behavior like?
So what kind of tools do we use for that?
So this is actually, I remember going to a session with Bob Galen, and the big tool or language, I'm probably destroying it here, but I know that Cucumber is one of the things that I hear a lot.
Okay.
And then for BDD, they have Cucumber, which I think is a derivative of it, or it's part of Cucumber, Gherkin, which is the whole given when then.
So given when, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So given when then originated as, I don't want to say originated, but the way I look at it is, it's a way for those who are not a full-fledged automation programmer. Let's say that you've been doing manual testing, but it basically breaks down tests, automation tests, into just human readable language. So given when customer needs to make a payment, then he or she does that.
Okay.
So it makes sense. When I look, I don't do automation testing, but I could read a given when then statement and say, oh, okay, you're trying to validate this.
So then it tells me that there are, as we go into getting the team better at developing software, right? And how does a QA team work, right? Just recently talked to some QA folks and they're asking me, well, how do I fit in?
Yeah.
I'm a manual QA tester for the longest time. What skills do I need?
Yeah.
Right? So this tells them, from this conversation, I learned that I can now introduce, ATDD and BDD as part of a skill set that we need to do, right? It's Cucumber, it's not just tools, but here's the technique.
The really cool thing to do with folks who've been doing manual QA, who may not have ever touched a line of code. Now the warning signs are, or the warning is like, hey, if you're a novice programmer, you got to practice a little bit, but you don't have to go into learn excruciating syntax.
Right.
It's human readable, which is why BDD is becoming more popular, because now it's not just the engineers that can write automation. It's you're looking at the assistance analysts, hell, even some product owners will write their acceptance criteria in a Gherkin style format. Huh. Yeah, and that blows my mind, because I've seen it written. I've seen stories where they've got the given when then. I'm like, wow, that's pretty advanced.
I remember looking at some of the syntax, and it just people say, oh, it's just common English, right? It's very close to English, right? So I was like, oh, okay, let's. So now this fits into, for me, it fits into how we do it. Here's other ways of doing it. It's not just the tools; it's actually the whole technique behind it. And the tools has been created to help us with the technique.
Yep. It started with a lot of XP practices. I had hands-on experience doing TDD. TDD is a controversial topic with a lot of engineers, because they will, engineers will say it slows me down.
Yes. Because
I have to think about the test first before I even write any code.
Right.
And I kind of get it. At first, it's a total mindset shift.
But and then one of the things that I get challenged with is that developers, I wrote the code. Of course I'm going to make it pass.
Yes,
Right?
you're right.
I'm not going to look to everything. I'm not going to make it fail. I'm going to make it pass all the time.
And you know what? The funny thing is that you'll make all your tests pass when it's a really simple thing.
Right.
It's when you revisit that value comes in, because if you're building something complex, so I came up with a really simple example. It's got to have an alpha. Well, what if you say, well, it's got to have an alpha, it's got to have a special character, it's got to be no more than 12 characters, but no less than 8.
Right.
When it gets more complex, then the chance for, hey, I don't care how good you are, you could make a mistake.
So all these tools that we created, it's automated, right?
Yeah.
So we're expecting it automated. So unit tests, the TDD spot, ATDD, BDD, all this should be automated, so that when I check in code, everything should fly.
And that is the whole, that's going into like continuous integration.
Right.
That is, hey, I got it in Jenkins or whatever tool you use, and as soon as I check in, I get instant feedback. Because remember, feedback is the name of the game, but it gives them instant feedback to see, hey, are we on path? Or did I break something in an area where I really wasn't focusing on, but just happened to touch?
Okay.
So it's just making it's an improvement on quality.
Okay.
But like I was saying, it's a tough topic to introduce to teams, especially if they've never done it.
Yeah.
But I think that the focus is on improving quality, and with the advent of, you don't have to do TDD, you can incorporate BDD and it's expanded into all these things, makes it easier to adopt.
So we talk about TDD, we talk about ATDD, we talk about BDD, right? We talk about what they are.
Yeah.
When we use them. How would I learn this thing? I mean, where would I go to? I mean, is there a place where I can learn this?
Oh man, there's, I don't have any one, but I actually, in preparation for the talk.
Is it tool centric?
No, it's
Okay,
not. It's
okay.
not. So, I mean, the most important thing is learning the concepts. And I actually went to the Agile Alliance website, and they had a really cool map, and they had, it looked like a subway map, and on one side it had the quality side, and it started talking about. So I read about it, because I knew about TDD from my time, but I'd heard about BDD thrown around, and I did a little bit of research on that, but getting the core concepts, then yes, eventually you do have to kind of look at what tooling you have to use to be able to implement it in your code. And that is something I have no idea about. That is beyond that scope.
So I think we have enough information here to introduce the concept, and we talk a little bit about where we use it, when we use it. We talk about possibly some of the places, and then you mentioned about Agile Alliance website to find this information. I think that's a good wrap for this conversation, right? Your thoughts?
I think so too. I mean, I think this is one of those topics where I know I don't have all the information, and there's probably a lot of folks who've had experience who watch our channel, and this is yet another invitation to kind of chime in and add to it, because this is probably a really important engineering practice, especially in today where that's kind of the focus. So.
Okay. Well, you hear it, folks. Hopefully it helped you in trying to figure out what are all the DDs.
The DDs of engineering.
Right? So hopefully that helps all of you. Feel free to drop us any questions, comments. If you don't like our video, tell us why. We're looking for feedback, right? If you have topics that you're interested for us to cover, share that with us. We'll be more than happy to talk about it.
They'll probably say we want more geese in the background. Always a fun time.
All right, it's fun time. All right, bye.
Bye, guys.